Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bouk and Zoobie show on the world famous LIR.com, 927 LIR.com, YouTube, and Spotify. I am John Kalaboukas, the Bouk, with my friend Paul Zubulake, Zubie, and special guest Alexander Stam on the day after the 2026 NBA championship is with the New York Knicks. I never thought I was ever going to be able to say that. Um, I will say, and I'm man enough to say it, that when they won, and my wife will confirm this, that I actually started crying because 51 years, I've been waiting since I was 11 years old for
Yep.
this. And I don't mind saying that I was crying for happiness.
Wow. Wow. It's impressive. Alex, any tears?
Um, well, I didn't personally did not cry, but it was definitely uh, a, a weird feeling because, yeah, I kind of expected us to win, but it was just like I'm not used to actually seeing a team I root for do anything in terms of success. Like this is like weird. Like I don't know how to react. Like I'm like my brain is set to like be upset when like a game's over. So this is like a weird feeling.
Yeah, no, I could imagine first time and John is, Bouk and Zoobie, I guess about 3 years in. We talk about this all the time, man. The teams that we root for can never win. The Rangers, the last one who won in 1994. To put in perspective, you have to keep throwing this stuff out there, not being a Giant or Yankee fan.
Yeah.
And for, like you said, you just never ever thought it could happen. But Alex, for the last couple of episodes that we've had out there, I mean, John and I were, I mean, we were on that borderline. We were like so overconfident and cocky, Alex, and I think you felt the same way. It's like they are doing it, they are winning it, and we didn't care about jinxing anything because, John, right? We have our own eyes and we're watching what was going on. And to think they were underdog going into the series, John, why didn't we bet? I mean, I'm sorry, I know we don't like to gamble, but maybe we should have put, I don't know, half of a mortgage on this one? What the heck happened? How are they the underdogs? I didn't even know until after the series started.
Yeah, they were. And, uh, you know, there was a reason why I wanted to face the Spurs. But, let's give credit what's credit's due is the Spurs will be winning many, many championships. This is a very young team. Uh, they Again, the reason why I wanted to face them rather than OKC is their inexperience, and their inexperience to close out games reared its ugly head. Now,
100%.
if we were facing OKC, I don't think this series would still be going on right now. If and maybe the Knicks would be behind because I don't. Again, it's just it's just my
No,
thought process. I
no
was
way.
watching these games and I said, "There's no way OKC would have given up these type of leads." Uh,
But they wouldn't have had the lead.
Maybe,
OKC was
maybe.
running on fumes, John. They had a championship last year. They went to the finals the year before that. They played a ton of basketball. Jalen Williams was not on the court. That was the difference. I'm sorry, John. I disagree totally on that side because I know I said the Spurs would be the tougher matchup. I think they would have swept OKC, honestly. Just because they just didn't have the players. I mean, the
No,
Spurs have
well,
much
I'm
better
just saying
players.
if they had leads like this.
They wouldn't have had it. They would. I don't
I'm
think
just
they would have
saying
had a
if
lead.
they
Maybe
were
the
in
Knicks would
that
have gave them a lead.
position, if they were in that position, they
I
would
just,
not
I know.
have
What
led.
do you think, Alex? Break the tie, bro. OKC still going on the series, or
No,
what
if
would you
they
give?
had no, what I'm saying is if they had these type of leads like
Okay.
San Antonio, I no,
All right.
I would think that the Knicks would have beaten them. But what I'm saying is if
Okay.
they had these type of leads, would they have allowed the Knicks to overcome 29 points.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that was historic. Right. Agreed. Okay. All right.
Right.
Alex, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, you guys said a lot of things in that span that I liked. We'll start with the cockiness. I had this weird cockiness about the Knicks this year, and going into the playoffs, I told you guys the NBA regular season is a joke, and if you've been watching for the past 5 years and you still don't believe that, I don't know what to tell you because you're just not watching basketball. These have these players play. You got to assess them the second the playoffs start. Knicks came out flat to start the playoffs. They weren't in sync. That's when I got worried. Just okay, this is when the actual season starts. After Game 3, they made whatever adjustments with Karl Anthony Towns, making him a more focal point of the offense.
Yep.
And they took off from there. 13 straight wins. The bench. That's another thing that why we haven't been able to win in the past and get past the Pacers back-to-back years is because we could not keep up with the Pacers and the pace they played at. We didn't have the depth, and that was a key part. And you saw guys like Landry Shamet, Jose Alvarado coming off the bench, of course, Mitch, Deuce, who a couple of those guys were quiet in the finals, but
yeah, they did nothing. All right.
really throughout the entire playoffs. Don't forget, we had way more rest compared to the Spurs heading into the finals. They went back-to-back 7-game series, and we went from sweep to sweep. So that's another thing people aren't talking about, and I think why the Knicks were so much better later in games is they were just so much less fatigued. And I think that is something that people are kind of sleeping on, that factor. In terms of the cockiness, I wanted to bet just like you said, but it was really hard not to. Like, I honestly thought the only way the Knicks would lose, this is like how sick I am. I thought the only way the Knicks would lose is if I bet on them. Like,
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
so I was like, okay, I can either like make a little bit of money, which I'm not going to bet that much anyways,
Right.
or I can just watch my team win the finals. And I went with the second choice, which is pretty funny because there were so many points where I was like, okay, maybe I'll just like I had to really resist the urge. But yeah, that was.
You're better off. At least you could watch and enjoy the games for the game.
Right. Yeah, but just to have something on it to just shove it in everybody's face, John. Whatever. It's like we'll throw the gambling out. It leads into the disrespect that the Knicks had going into the series with Vegas and the alleged experts of basketball that are on the airwaves, which is 90% of them don't know anything. And it's just, I don't know, again, it was an eye test. And like Alex brought up a great point, just the rest aspect that they had, the advantage, experience with their head coach, who, let's face it, he lost in the final, so he knows what it's like. The Spurs head coach, he's, let's face it, completely inexperienced. I mean, little quickie from last night. How is Champagny not on the court at the end when you need a three? It's like, what are you doing, dude? I looked at the numbers, right? Fox was 1 for 8 from 3, and Champagny, I think, was 4 for 8, and he's not on the court? What?
And not only that, they have so many young guys that are out there. And what's his name? Harper. What a talent he is. I mean, he has a beautiful shot. And how you don't keep that kid on the court as much as possible. I was like, what are they doing? I mean, listen, I was saying this is good for the Knicks. Keep them off the court. Keep these guys off.
Right, but he was also inexperienced at the end of the games too, right?
Yeah,
he went to the hoop last night. He had a very makeable layup at the end, right? And he just kind of didn't get
too.
Right, and of course we haven't even mentioned, and we're going to talk. This is all about the Knicks, folks. So, and again, just quickly, just want to thank everybody for checking out our content on YouTube, youtube.com, Spotify.com, the world famous LIR.com. 927lar.com, all on the platforms. We're just so happy people are checking out our content. We're kind of figuring out the algorithm. Alex, we're doing a little more marketing and stuff, and as always, we appreciate it if you can help us in that aspect, getting our show out, right? Because, John, we are a word of mouth show. So tell your friends that these guys are not losers because we got a championship. Thank you, Leon Rose. Before we get into Leon Rose, because we have to mention, we mentioned Mike Brown quickly. Wembanyama, I don't get it, John, because I get what you're saying about them potentially winning multiple championships.
He's out of shape.
No,
He
but
is
his attitude. No, but
Yeah.
his attitude and how they're going to build that team and what nucleus they're going to try to keep, because it's hard to pay everybody as well. Let's face it. And this, like, him being like kind of like on this, like, I'm not American, and being, kind of condescending with the media, and, this ridiculous comment, right? They're down 3-1 after blowing that lead. And he's like, oh, we're going to come back. And then he can't even back it up by winning a home game. I don't get what he's doing. I mean, his people should tell him, it's like, wait a minute, embrace your life, bro. You're the luckiest guy on earth. You're going to make tons of money. Don't become an enemy of, right? I don't get it.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up, because he didn't even shake hands with any of the Knicks. He left the court.
Castle too.
Yeah. You're right. He's very abrupt with the media. Very, very abrupt. The other thing is, and I think he's turned off quite a few fans, is how dirty of a player.
Right.
He is unbelievably dirty, trying to take out people's knees, ankles. I mean, just play the game.
Yeah.
And, he reminds me, I hate to use this comparison, but he was a little bit like Patrick Ewing, because Patrick Ewing, you say, oh, he would guarantee a win, and it would never happen. That's what that reminded me when he was saying, yeah, everyone knows we're going to win. And Patrick used to do that all the time, and we never won. But Wembanyama, if you noticed at the end of games, and it didn't even matter if he was playing 40, like I think in game 4, he played almost 40 minutes.
Yeah, he played, I think, a little over.
Right. But they've been resting him in the other games. He's out of shape, man. I'm looking at him in the fourth. He is gassed. He's not blocking shots. He's not making foul shots. He's after the first 2 quarters, you could keep driving in on him. I was surprised that Towns didn't have a very good game, but just keep driving in on the guy or have him run around. He was so out of shape at the end of the game.
No, that's what he definitely has to work on.
He needs to get his stamina up.
Yeah. Well, he's a young guy. He's a young guy, and they're going to learn a lot. What do you think, Alex, about the Spurs before we get to the Knicks in the more detail?
Yeah, I got a couple things. First off, I agree that a lot of people are saying, oh, the Spurs are going to be back and be back. What team does this Spurs team remind you the most of? And personally, go back to when the Miami Heat and LeBron days took on the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is the closest comparison you have between this series and another NBA Finals. And you have guys like James Harden, who were the sixth man on that team, who they didn't keep. He was gone. And I think the Spurs are going to kind of fall into a trap there. They have some players that I don't think they're giving the true respect to. And you could have a guy like Harper, who in 5 years from now is competing for what James Harden was doing, a league MVP. I mean, I know it sounds crazy, but there's players like that they have that are young. And if Wemby is, and I didn't know a lot about Wemby going into this series about his personality. I know he's very European, like you guys mentioned.
He's from France.
If you listen to the fans,
he's from France.
Yeah. But he's like obsessed with them wanting to do all the European soccer chants. Football. But I think it's a little bit like corny that he's like so invested in that, when I think he's going to end up driving away a lot more fans. And I think you saw it this series there's many clips of him just like doing dirty things that weren't called. And we can just focus on last night, the Brunson one, and then go back last game. He like tried to stomp on OG's like knee, literally tried to like
Yep.
take his whole leg out. He was like a couple inches away from who knows if OG ever plays again. Like that's the kind of injury he could have caused. So I don't know. I think he kind of just made himself a villain this series.
Yep.
And I think now he's just going to be super hated by the Americans that are not the France fans, international. He might have his international support, and he'll always sell the most jerseys international now. But I don't know. I think he's going to turn away a lot of guys recruiting. And I don't think the Spurs are going to be this guaranteed team to make it back. I think Wemby is a little bit flawed with his mindset and how he approaches the game. I think he's relying too much on wanting to be a point guard when he should be playing his role. I'm going to compare him to Mitch Robinson for a second. Mitch knows his role. He plays his role. Obviously, Wemby's a completely different skill set, but you're still playing the center position. And if you're going to shoot 80% of the time from not inside the paint, you're not going to win games like that. I don't think so. And
he's not getting any offensive rebounds because he's shooting or he's away from the basket, and even defensively on, let's face it, on OG play of the decade on the tip. Where the heck is Wembanyama? And that's on the coaching staff too, right? It's like you just tell them, right? You just stay around the basket, regardless.
Yeah.
If they hit it, because there's so many things to talk about, guys. But let's face it. I want your reaction on this. I'm jumping here. I'm sorry. When Jalen shoots that ball, I'm like, what is he doing? He's got like another 3 seconds. I'm like, clank. They're gonna lose. And then next thing you know, obviously everybody has seen it a zillion times, right? So it's amazing how you can go from. I'm not saying Jalen was a goat there. He wasn't, but just like you can go from one to by the chances of your teammates, and it's amazing, right? That Wembanyama wasn't under the basket on that play.
Yeah. Well, I will say that is the time when Brunson is supposed to take that shot, though, because that's why OG gets that tip in. It gives you 2 chances. They kind of call it a 2-1.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But they put a body on OG and they don't let him get to the basket. It falls weakly to the side. So I get what you're saying. Because if he couldn't have penetrated more, right? Because he knew he could get blocked. I mean, let's face it, Jalen is not going to be passing a lot. So, but the whole point is, it's like you could look at this in a lot of different ways. That game obviously being beyond the major turning point. Let's face it, and who knows what would have happened. But you break down that play, the simplest of things. Where again, I know that Victor was waiting for Jalen to try to drive to block it, so that's why he's maybe not underneath the basket. But once that ball goes up in the air, man, turn around and head to the basket, right? Anyway, it's crazy.
Well, what the other thing in that play was that Anunoby was wide open for the 3 too. He was clapping his hands. I mean, there was no one even close to him.
Right.
And he was hot. And he was hot in that game. He made
OG was
there. Who knows?
OG was consistently the best player on the court that series. If you go from game 1 to game 5,
I thought he was going to get the MVP.
He was the MVP. Let's face it. But Jalen did it at the last game. Yeah. Sorry, Alex.
No, you're completely right. The truth is he was the MVP. You can't not give it to Brunson. That's just the flat out truth.
Yep.
It's not about that series. They're looking at the whole picture. And you can get really nerdy and be like, no, it's supposed to be OG. But no, it's the guy that said, no, I'm not going to max out my contract. That way we can have OG on the team. Because OG is not even on the roster if Brunson says, no, I'm just going to be an average,
Twice, actually. He actually did it twice.
Yeah. So that is the perfect road to where I want to head. Is how did this team get built and the timeline that it was built in? And it's amazing because when you look back and the fact that Leon Rose was hired in March of 2020, John, the world shuts down. Maybe that's why he's never talked to the media. I don't think people realize that he was hired March 2nd of 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you're right. This whole thing started right when he got hired.
Yep.
And I remember, because for me, that's when I kind of really, I would say, became like consistently a Knicks fan and watching. Was right the season before when they were god awful. For some reason, I got invested that season because that's when everyone was talking about Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Zion Williamson, this dream team that was. Remember, they were supposed to be the team that won the finals for the Knicks. So, if you remember going back, I don't know, it's like 7 years now from when it really started. The only player on the team then that is still here today is Mitchell Robinson, my guy. And it's crazy that is really when it all started then.
And, with Leon Rose, what people don't really know about him is, well, I'll say some people do, is that he was an agent.
Yeah.
It was a very different type of role for him, where now he's saying, okay, I'm not going to represent players. I'm going to, by the way, his son actually represents Brunson. So that he's the agent for Brunson. But, when he first came in, he didn't make some good moves, by the way. He did not. If you remember.
That's true.
All right, so let's go, John. So 2020, that's when he takes over. Yep. And his first draft class, because I know you said you did some research too, right? And Alex, remembering who were they actually had 2 number 1s that year. Who were they?
Oh man,
RJ Barrett, number 1.
No.
What wasn't the RJ year?
No. RJ was already there, I believe. I didn't check that, but it was Quickly.
Yep.
And the guy who was picked earlier. And John, this is one of his worst moves. Obi Toppin was the other pick.
That's
all right,
correct.
Continue. I'm sorry. So what were you going to say on you're definitely going to say Obi Toppin. That was a bad trade.
Let's talk about Evan Fournier.
Okay. No, that's what I'm saying. Go through. Right. He did make mistakes. True. Okay.
Kemba Walker, who was on one leg. I don't know.
Right. Okay, so I think both of that happened in 21, correct? I think that was because everything really. I guess it was Brunson, the signing of Brunson in 2022. That was the big.
That's correct. That's correct.
And this is before, obviously, the extension, so there wasn't any hometown discount, of course, because he was just happy to get that sort of a deal. So that was like first thing, and they also. The interesting thing, I think it was 21, he gave Randall an extension.
That's correct.
And that's the one thing, Leon Rose, you got to give him credit for this sort of stuff, because Quickly and the Toppin trade was bad, but Quickly turned into OG. So he acquired players, right? I'm sorry, Alex, what?
But the year before Leon Rose was hired, I thought Leon came in and drafted RJ Barrett. But if you go 1 year before Leon, then if you're saying Leon got hired in 2020, 2019 would then be the last draft class by the former GM.
Correct.
Which means that was the RJ Barrett pick. And that was
Scott Perry, right? Scott Perry, John, right? Drafted, I think, RJ Barrett. We'd have to look it up. Is that accurate? I think it's accurate.
Yeah, that's Scott Perry, right.
And I think it was right. So Barrett was in 19.
And listen, Scott Perry didn't do such a great job either, because if you remember, one of his picks, or a couple of his picks, was I believe it was Kevin Knox was one of his picks, and that guy turned out to be nothing. I mean, they did really, really poorly with their first round picks. I mean, really poorly. But anyway, I'm sorry, I digressed here.
No. So they're saying going through the timeline. Also in 22, they signed Isaiah Hartenstein. So that's again under the radar signing. So those were tremendous moves. All right. Yes. So that was the start. But yeah, you're right.
He also, he had some duds there. That guy. What's his name? Noel. New Orleans. Noel. Remember that?
Right. Yeah. They signed him. Yes.
Extended contract, which I thought was totally ridiculous.
Right. He made a lot of bad moves early. There's no doubt about it. And Brunson signing turned it around.
He had to.
Yep.
I think that's also what we're forgetting is, remember, the Knicks weren't this shiny object. We wanted it to be this shiny object. Remember, you're looking at it from 2026 when Landry Shamet decides to re-sign on the minimum, and that would never happen to this team in 2020, 2021, 22. It's a completely different culture now. You had to pay a guy like Evan Fournier insane money just to get him to want to come to New York. And that is something that you have to remember as well, is he had to make a little bit of overspending moves just to get a decent roster going. Get some momentum.
Well, and the other move that we could say was a very big part of this team turning around is having Thibodeau come in as coach, because
Yeah, exactly.
he was there for 5 years, and he actually took in his first year that team to the playoffs. And if you look at the roster that they had, I'm like, that was miraculous. So yeah, I'm sorry, Paul. So you could continue with.
No. I'll go through the timeline and then I'll let you guys jump in. So I know it's three people. Three people with still, like, let's face it, within 12 hours of the championship. We're still on cloud 9 here, folks. So 22 was definitely, that was it. And Thibodeau, you're 100% right. That was a huge part. And, so we'll never know if he could have done it. He could have done it. There's no doubt. I mean, this roster was better than last year's team. Let's face it.
Yes.
But anyway, so let's get back. So, and again, we haven't mentioned his name. I love him to death. This guy is the glue of glue. He may have missed layups. He may have clanked a free throw last night. But this guy, John, if you look at the simplest statistic, plus minus, Josh Hart actually, I don't know for the 5 games what the final cumulative was, but he might have been the number 1 on the Knicks for plus, right? Yeah. On the court versus, not being on the court, the plus minus, to show that the guy does like all these little things. Josh Hart, John, and when I'm like, I can't wait to go back and find out what the heck did they give up. And
Cam Reddish.
This is one of the greatest heists.
Cam Reddish.
Cam Reddish, and a conditional it was a lottery protected first rounder who turned into Chris Murray, who's I think the brother of the other Murray that's good. I think. Yeah. I'm not right. Is that who he is? Right. Yeah. So in other words, nobody, because it was like the 20-something pick. I mean, let's face it. I mean, that's that move, and it's just so that's 23, 24. This is the big one you guys mentioned. Extension for Brunson, less money. OG gets re-signed because of what Alex said.
Well, don't forget.
Okay, what do you got?
The same year, 2023, that they got Hart, they got Anunoby for Barrett and Quickly.
Yeah, correct.
It was like December or November.
Right.
And
correct.
You know how much I love that trade. I mean, I love the Hart trade and I love the Anunoby trade. People was like, oh, we gave up so much. Anunoby. I'm like, this guy is a defensive genius.
Are you 100% right?
We gave up nothing for OG, and if you're gonna tell me that we gave up too much for OG, then you don't know what RJ Barrett and
there was so many people thought, oh, we gave up Quickly, we gave up Barrett, we gave up a first rounder, and I'm like, it's worth it for this guy.
Yeah, well, Quickly was a fan favorite. He was a quick. I think RJ, everybody was like, okay, no issue. But I think Quickly was the guy. Let's face it, he was a good player.
Yeah, but the reason why that Quickly got traded,
right?
And is it back correct?
Yeah.
The Knicks offered him $20 million a year. He turned it down.
And he got 30.
So after that, they said, okay, we're done with you.
Yep. It's amazing how things happen, right? They try to sign a guy, he doesn't sign, and then they trade him, which was, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know how I missed this because I literally have that written down. Oh, and they also got Achua in that trade, our boy Precious Achua. All right, so that's the end of 23. Hart was the beginning of 23, calendar-wise. All right, so then the extensions, and then, of course, let's face it, besides the tweaking of the roster this year, the big ones, right, when another trade that, let's face it, Karl Anthony Towns and Bridges, right? They both Bridges was before Tech, right? Was it Bridges before?
Yeah, Bridges was in. It was. I think he was during the summertime,
Okay,
and
for 5
That
then
picks.
and then
right
they
before.
started getting Towns later after Bridges.
But one thing you got to mention is we don't get Cat for the value that we get him at. If we don't say goodbye to Randall, one, but two, uh, oh my God, I lost my train of thought.
Don't lose you losing. Don't worry, because the whatever those notifications, Alex, that you're getting, it's
Well,
like,
I don't know why that's coming off.
hey,
I didn't
it's a
know what I was
hometown day. We're a homemade show, Alex. Don't worry about it. What, you talking about?
And
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go. Cat trade.
yeah, and DiVincenzo, we had to give up DiVincenzo, which that hurt a lot. Dude,
Yes.
he's such a fan favorite, and he was such a great 2 next to Brunson. Here, I'm gonna fix this.
And,
But
well, remember there was, if you remember, there was a trade that I really disliked that they made that they definitely could have used him. Is when they traded Grimes away for what's the guy's name? Oh my God, there was the 2 of them.
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't remember. Yeah.
when they were making that run.
Yeah, no, they traded Quentin Grimes for nothing. I think it was almost like a throwaway, right? So,
It wasn't a throwaway. No, it was. Oh my God.
oh, you got to know your deets, John. You got to know your deets on Bouk and Zoobie. We're not gonna, because that didn't even make the timeline. Because let's face it, the Quentin Grimes story. Who cares? Let's face it. Let's move on. The Cat trade, right? That and the Bridges move, right? Those were the almost to get them to the conference finals. The coaching change, again, we can argue that to the cows come home. Tibbs, could he have done it or not? And then let's face it, as Alex mentioned earlier, the Magic did, Shamit did wake up, guys, right? So that was the bad news. He was absolutely unconscious before, and then, he did nothing in the finals, so he kind of came back to earth.
You want to know why he didn't? You want to know why he didn't do anything in the finals?
Tell me.
With him, the only way that he scores is when he's set and they throw him the ball. If he has to move and take a shot, he's ineffective. He has to be set where you're just passing it and he shoots it from his. He can't do. And he's not very good on foul shots either. If you notice, it's like maybe the shots are too close for him, or when he's trying to drive, sometimes, with him, that's why he was ineffective. Because the minute they passed it to him, they were on top of him. He had to move, and he didn't know what to do. He did not know what to do.
And then lastly, I'm sorry, Alex. Let me get this one in. I'll let you go. The last move in this year, and I'm not counting Jeremy Sohan, who was brought in to needle Victor Wembanyama, my boy Jeremy Sohan, was Alvarado move this year, and what game? Absolutely huge. It was a game 4 or 3, right? No, it was game 4, right? Where Alvarado.
Part of the comeback, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, got to mention him. That's basically, and Clarkson kind of had a moment, right? I think he had 10 points in one of the games. So I mean, it really was the team effort. So anyway, go for it, Alex.
No, yeah, I was just gonna add the thing about Shamit and why I always mention him so much is that's why we lost the 2 years prior to the Pacers. Is a player like him. Remember the year prior when we were begging Thibs to put him in the game. That's why Thibs got fired. He just didn't put him in the game. And if you're going to say that the Knicks wouldn't have won the finals this year with Thibs the coach, I don't think that's a bad take. But I also think that we did have a way easier path and more favorable path and a better roster this year. But I think players like Shamit and the whole bench itself was the reason why I was so confident in this team in general. Is the ability of, okay, Josh Hart is playing terrible tonight. Shamit comes off the bench and he has 5 3-pointers that he just made in 1 quarter. That is something that we've never had before. And Deuce McBride wasn't enough in the past.
He was powerful in this series.
Yeah, he had a bad one. And it's like throughout the playoffs, different guys rotated in and out, coming off the bench. And you saw Cat, first 2 games of this series, was the best player on the court. Last 3 games, he shied away big time. He was also in foul trouble.
Yeah.
But that's why this team won, is because they had other guys that were able to fill the role, and we did not have that in years past.
You even had Huck Porty come in for a couple of minutes in the past
Yeah.
couple of games.
Yeah, your
My man,
guy.
Huck Porty.
Hey, the bottom line is that everything we said. This is the bench was huge getting to the finals, so they couldn't have got to the finals without those guys.
Yeah.
But the finals was really about Brunson, OG, and Josh Hart for the intangibles, not for style points. I mean, the guy's 6'4" and he's getting double-digit rebounds. I mean, it's like you got to put in perspective how hard that is. That's desire, man. That is desire, that you want to rebound the ball. And their opponents, I mean, Castle last game, he's 1 for 10. I mean, they kind of win as he went, and when he played poorly,
Yeah.
and Fox too. It's just because, like you said, Harper was great, Wemby was Wemby, but when Castle was off, I mean, that really hurt them. They just couldn't overcome it. And I mean, these games were really unbelievably close. It was, I thought the Knicks would win easier, honestly.
Yeah. Again, to be honest, the Knicks didn't play particularly well in this series, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
The 3-point, Paul knows when I'm getting upset when I'm texting him about the 3-point defense against the 3-pointers. Which drove me crazy the entire series. But, this is just showing what a true champion is, because despite them not playing well in majority of the games, they have the heart and they had the desire to win. And that, the fact that Brunson yesterday had to put everyone on his back and score 45 points, whereas the rest of the team only scored 49 points, is amazing to me. And he really took over. It's funny, Paul, when you started watching the game, I think we were behind by 10.
It was 10. It was 10. Yeah.
Brunson ended up scoring the next 13 points for the Knicks.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he shoots a lot, so it's funny if you look at the statistics. It's like, hey, I love Brunson, but he is a volume shooter out of the point guard position. It could go both ways, because let's face it, John, last year we kind of got on him for dribbling into nowhere land, and he still did it a few times in the series, where even last night he had that one, right, where he just, I don't know what he was doing, and he hit the side of the backboard, right? He was dribbling on this, and then I'm like, but it didn't matter, it's just because obviously he didn't do that enough, and I'm not criticizing the guy. The guy was phenomenal. He's just, and such a likable guy. Let's get to that. Right? I'm sorry. And the Spurs are the opposite. They've made it. I just don't understand. I mean, it's just amazing to see. I mean, really the love that they have for each other, and the guts, and everybody just doing their thing, their role. And I mean, what guy's better than the Nets? They're all such good guys. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? They're just humble, soft-spoken. OG, after he makes the play of the lifetime, he's like, it's like, they gave me an opening, and I'm just like, and he goes, yeah, I'm really excited. And I'm like, oh my God, right?
If you read Anunoby's story, he lost his mom at an early age, so his father ended up raising him and his siblings. And one thing,
he's Nigerian, correct?
Junior. He took his father's name, and the father said to them, "You don't speak unless you have something important to say." So, and he talked about being modest. It's
right, but
his personality. I mean, he doesn't get too high, too low. They were saying last night was the first time he's touched alcohol ever. And there
you go.
They gave him a drink, and of course, for people who don't drink alcohol, it just burned right through him, and he was coughing and gagging. They were saying, but he did it one time. He goes, and that's it.
There you go. Well, I mean, but don't you agree? I mean, it's Josh Hart and Brunson and Cat and Will Bridges, right? All these are Alvarado and Shamit, right? Such a humble guy. You had mentioned that a couple of that show.
He doesn't barely use the word.
everybody forgot about the broken pinky. What'd we say about it, right? Tape it
Yeah.
up and go. And he taped it up. And I'm surprised they didn't hack him last night, too. I would have been. Robinson's on the court. I'm sorry. It throws the Knicks offense off. So I'm sorry. They got all those stiffs at the end of the bench, San Antonio. Every team has them. Go out. I'm sorry. Put them on the line. They didn't do it. I don't know why they didn't do it.
No, it was very strange. And when you look back at that game last night, the San Antonio only scored 7 points in the last 8 minutes of that game.
Crazy.
Since Mr. Zubulake decided to watch the game.
Yeah.
After I was busy cursing up a storm at the TV, you saw them just come back again.
Hey, but I will say I went a little old school because I was up in Bergen County, New Jersey, which is about 40 minutes from my house. A little Monica McNutt on the radio with Tyler. Do you know his last name?
Murray.
Tyler Murray. What a great voice Tyler Murray has, Craig. Yeah. He's a kid, but he sounds like he's 50.
Yeah. It was funny when because sometimes he did the TV, and I'm like, where did he get this high school kid from?
It's like good job. So yeah, it was so funny to listen to this, and I'm like, it was going back. They got it down to 4, then they put it up to 12 again. I'm like, it's the same story. I go, we'll be home I was telling my wife, we'll be home for the fourth quarter, and this is it's amazing that this team just took over when it counted. I mean, there's not much. What else can you say? I mean, like as Alex said earlier, that Atlanta series, right after Game 3. That's when let's face it, I had said the Celtics were going to beat the Knicks because they could barely beat the freaking Hawks. And then that's it. Mike Brown run the offense through Cat. Then the other team started taking that away, and Brunson took over, right? And then they just like the intangible guys are just every loose ball, right? I mean, I'm sorry, I keep on going back to Josh Hart, John, but when there's a ball on the ground, and he's not the only one, but the guy just
I don't know. I mean, Anunoby busy slap, just poking away.
Anyway.
And the funny thing is when it ended last night, I realized. I said in 1999, the Spurs ended up beating the Knicks at Madison Square Garden in 5. The Knicks returned the favor in 5 in San Antonio. And 1999, we knew that we had no shot. I mean, they had Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean, they had such a great team.
Happy to be there. They were happy to be there. So parade on Thursday, Canyon Your Heroes. I mean, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be insane. Alex, you crazy enough to venture in?
Well, to be honest, I probably would have been a 50-50 if I was going to go, but I am working that day, so it's not an option. But, yeah, I feel like if I didn't go and I could have went, I chose not to, it would have been something where I'm like, okay, I probably will regret it. So then I would have went just for the sake of I have to experience it. But I don't know. I have some friends that went in person, throughout the playoffs, to the city and stuff, but I don't know. So I prefer watching on the TV.
The 2 of them, and they're overrated, Alex.
Okay.
One of them was the Mets. The other one is when they brought the hostages back from Iran. They had a ticket tape parade, and all you see is a sea of people. And if you're lucky to see the players or anyone, you have to be on a light pulse. And I just want to address one thing. I don't want to sound like an old man here, but can we stop destroying just because the team wins? I mean, I used to look at other cities when they used to win, they're setting fires and smashing up. New York never does that. And for some reason now we have all these punks. And what drives me crazy is I saw an article about it. And because we're so politically correct and we don't want to call them thugs and punks that are destroying, this one, I think it was the New York Times, called them revved up Knicks rooters. That's what they called them. Revved up Knicks rooters, destroyed.
Yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? They need to go to jail. What do you listen?
Actually, John, I think it wasn't that bad. I honestly thought it could have been a lot worse. If they were home, I think it would have been worse if they wanted it home. But I mean, the other part of it is, why were these school buses in the area?
That
It's
was
like,
they were transporting people to the World Cup from it was 42nd and 9th that happened. So they were by the Port Authority. So those buses
okay,
were to take people to the World Cup.
they
And they
were okay, okay. So that's okay. So the rioters went up there, and that's really the main thing, right? A couple of buses, and
where they went to anywhere where it was around the garden, they
right, right,
couldn't destroy anything because there was so
yeah,
many police. But
yeah,
when
yeah.
they went uptown, they they only had like 100 cops to handle tens of thousands of people.
Well, New York's not like what it was. See, that's the problem. See, it's funny when you say that because let's face it, it's been a long time since the 2012 Super Bowl Giants, right? The last time they did this, society is, kind of taken a little downturn, John, in the last 13 years, the
Yeah.
city included. No accountability. This is what happens, but we're not going to go down that road on a day of happiness. So, John, you're not going to parade. I'm not going to parade. I was working in the '94 Rangers parade. And I worked with the guy, we were brokers, so it's hard to get off the desk. I was like, I got to go over just to check it out. And he was like, you're not a sports guy. He's like, yo, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm leaving. And I left. And like you said, John, you couldn't even, I mean, I was there. You had to be there early, obviously, to get a
Right.
spot. But it was just, there really was just excitement. So it actually is pretty cool because you don't have to even kind of get near the parade to kind of still kind of get the feel. Now, it's easier if you're already there for work. And I lived in the city,
Right.
then too. So it's a lot easier when you're there as opposed to now we can't even get to New York, I don't think, because of the World Cup from New Jersey by train. I don't know what I would have to do, hydroplane it or whatever. So anyway, I hope it's nice and calm and whatever. Everybody's got to be kumbaya. Jim Dolan and
Right.
the
Just be
great
cool.
mayor will be hopefully hugging. It doesn't matter. It's a happiness
Celebrate
moment.
the team. Celebrate the team. Don't destroy
Exactly,
people's businesses or anything. Just celebrate
John.
this happiness that we have.
Yeah.
Everyone in New York is happy today.
Right. I would suggest going on X and checking or YouTube wherever, checking out a lot of cool things I've seen where people were singing, there were people in the street not causing problems. So the media is always gonna, all right, they destroyed the buses or whatever. Right? And don't get me wrong, and he's like you said, they're thugs. Let's arrest them and actually prosecute them. Maybe that would be nice, but I mean, that's not fair because the overwhelming majority of people were just having a great time. Obviously, the bandwagon jumpers, I don't know if we want to get there, but one thing I definitely have to talk about, John, because you brought this up about Carl Anthony Towns' interview with the immortal Lisa Salters, who, by the way, okay, what is she, all these, I don't want to just say her because they all do the same thing. They probably pay them what, $500,000, 300 grand. I don't know what they get for these sideline reports. They make a good buck for what they do.
Yeah.
This is your moment to actually craft a freaking question of some sort of note. But what, John? They can't just help. They just crack under the pressure, and they do the infamous, how do you feel? So, the cat, what was the next part? Because there was a lot of stuff going on with this after we talked about it, correct? With Carl Anthony Towns, right? Maybe, Alex, do you know what we're talking about, by the way?
Yeah. They also asked Brunson the same question, and he was like crying, walking over. She's like, "So what does this mean to you?" And the guy like can't even talk, and he's like, 20 seconds later, she's like, "I can see your emotions." Like she finally says something. Like it's like so
Right.
awkward.
No, that you're right. But the Carl Anthony Towns thing, did you know that Lisa Salters asked him about his mother? Did you know that? Do you know that whole story? John had, I think, honestly, the only person who talked about it, right, John? So bring us up to date, John. It did continue the story.
This is that, I mentioned in the podcast, I don't know how many episodes ago, where Lisa Salter asked Carl Anthony Towns to say hi, Mom. And I'm like, my heart sank for him. I said, what is this woman doing? It's incredible. It's incredible. So if you notice now, Karl Anthony Towns after that because, has been mentioning his mom.
Correct. So, but still, so it's all tied from that, because when you see the new content about talking about his mom and his mom passing and all, it was like they were sticking it to them. But still, like I've always joked about the sports media, it's just like the regular media. They don't go after each other when they do dumb things. I'm not saying like have her fired. I'm not. That was just a dumb thing to do, and nobody talked about it.
It was such a bad thing to the point where he
Anyway.
Alexander doesn't know this, but he just, when she asked him that to say hi mom, he said hi mom and then just ran out of the picture. I mean, it was almost automatic.
Anyway,
it was such a terrible thing. I still can't believe he did that.
Anyway, all right. So I don't know. I think we've talked a lot about a lot of stuff with the Knicks. Did I leave anything out, guys?
I mean, other than the fact that Towns did a very good job on Wemby defensively, where he, people didn't think of him as doing anything defensively, as him being soft. He just disappeared in this last game, and one thing that I didn't understand is, I don't know, he was afraid of getting fouled or something. I mean, he would go in and drive and then toss it back at him, saying, go right after them, take the hit, get the foul. But overall, I think that he did a good job defensively. Like Alexander said, he kind of disappeared the last couple of games. But, yesterday was one of the worst games that they've played, I mean, in a very long time. And Paul Zubulake ended up seeing the 8 minutes that they actually played decently in that game.
And that's what the key is. Hopefully all our fans who, hopefully will watch our episode today and like it and subscribe to the channel. Alex, I'm going to throw it to you. Last thoughts before we close, because John, we'll let Alex do his last thoughts. I do have one other thing I want to talk about quickly. So, Alex, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I got one last thing. And they're celebrating at the end, and they're interviewing each player, and they're going around with the trophy. Two things I have to say. First off, they bring in Josh Hart and Mikal at the same time, and Josh is like, screw them picks, which I thought was really funny. The one thing I do have to say, though, is I was really upset they did not interview Mitchell Robinson. That was a prime opportunity to have the only guy that's really – he was here when the Knicks, I don't know where it ranks the season before they signed Julius Randle. In terms of that record, that was the season we traded away everything, and that team was gutted. I mean, that team was awful. And Mitch has been here, and he is the only guy that was here the entire time. And that was the easiest question you had. It was a layup. And I feel like it's so disrespectful to him not getting asked that question there because of how well he played. The key offensive rebound at the end, that had such a sour taste in my mouth, being such a fan of Mitchell Robinson. Like, if I had to rank my favorite Knicks of all time, I can't rank the guys I didn't watch play. So we're talking 2010 is the absolute earliest I can even consider anything. But it's really more 2016, 2017 on. And Mitchell Robinson is right up the top of that list with any other guy's name you want to throw out there. And that was just so upsetting to see that. So that's the last thing I'll leave you with.
That's a good one. Yeah, Mitchell he deserves, and he's had some issues off the court. Yeah.
I agree with him. Alexander, it's funny that you said that because I was upset because I'm saying, when are they going to interview him? I was waiting for them to interview Mitchell Robinson. You don't see him anywhere. That
would have been the best last interview. Ended with him. Yeah. Ended with the only guy that was here the entire time. Yeah. Fan favorite. I don't know. I can talk about this all day.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And that's what the Bouk and Zoobie show is all about, right, guys? We talk about stuff that other people don't catch. And one last thing, John, because you cannot do a Bouk and Zoobie show without mentioning the Jets. I'm sorry. It's got to be every show. And Alex, that you'll appreciate this being a Jet fan too. This idea now, the King. No, this is Rangers 54 years, Knicks
And the Mets,
53
and
years,
the Mets.
Mets, but still, it's not in that category in the 40s, right? The Jets live on their own, if ineptitude, at 57 years going on. This idea that the Knicks building a team properly and winning an NBA championship has anything to do with the Jets' prospects is an absolute folly. So I am ending the show with that reality check for any Jet fan who's throwing that out there, that like this means anything for the green team. So anyway, John, I'll let you last thoughts and close the show.
Well, I'm going to use the Mets because if you saw, they had a headline where they're saying, oh, what the Knicks did this year, we could do the same. I'm like, no, you can't. No, you can't. I couldn't believe I was reading this. I'm like, what planet are you people on?
Yes, the marketing people who are marketing this sort of garbage, yes, do not do it.
And there's one, I don't know if you remember the show The Wire. It used to be on HBO.
Sure.
It was
yes.
a great show. And I saw this quote, and I remembered. I said, I have to write it down because, to Wembayama, who was talking trash and says, we're going to come back. There's a saying in The Wire, if you come for the king, you best not miss. Well, Mr. Wembayama, you missed.
There you go. Who do you got to thank, John?
As always, thank you to our producer, Zach Zubulake, and to our loyal listeners and viewers. Keep the feedback coming. Thank you for really increasing our viewership and listenership lately. Also, thanks to our community partners, Ronald McDonald House, Kids in Seats, and the Jackie Robinson Foundation. See you soon.